1964, America was introduced to a new Ford. It was sporty, with a low profile, bucket seats, an affordable price, and a name that one Ford executive described as American as hell, the Ford Mustang. The Mustang started the car-buying public thinking small. That is to say, it became Ford Motors' most popular car of the 60s and spawned the trend towards smaller cars. But probably the most fascinating aspect of the Mustang is that right from its beginnings, it sparked a true love affair with car lovers that have survived the bad times of apparent unrequited love and lack of respect through fickleness of style and identity, only to come back full circle to the present rekindled love affair that is as strong as ever. It began with the vision of a young Ford division manager named Lee Iacocca of present-day Chrysler fame. Iacocca became Ford division manager in 1960, taking over the position from Robert S. McNamara, who later became the Secretary of Defense. Iacocca's style was much less conservative than McNamara's, and Henry Ford II believed he was the right man with the right vision for the position. Iacocca had been thinking about the Mustang for quite some time. He kept a close eye on what the public was asking for. He saw countless letters from customers who were asking Ford to bring back the original two-seated Thunderbird that had gone from a small car to a larger version. He knew the market was right for the Mustang. Chevrolet had been having tremendous success with their Corvair Monza. Import sports cars with very expensive price tags were selling like crazy. Iacocca knew that if he could take the elements of a fun-type sporty car without the price tag, he'd have a bonanza. This idea was in his head in 1961, and except for the fact that he wanted to build the kind of car that he would want to drive, the details of the machine were still undefined. Ford researched the buying public to either prove or disprove Iacocca's theory. The market research proved his theory to be correct. The car-buying public was younger and brighter. They wanted a car that gave them an image, but one that they could afford. One of the early ideas for the new car was the Mustang I. It was created to win over the foreign sports car market, and so it was much closer in appearance to an MG or Triumph than any American car.
The actual frame was fabricated in California by the custom car builders Troutman and Barnes. In addition to being both lightweight and strong, the space frame can be built quickly. The engine, moved to midships, not only made reduced frontal area possible and therefore allowed better aerodynamic form, but made for excellent weight distribution because it could be placed forward of the rear axle with no change in the drivetrain. The special body was first developed in clay, starting with a wooden form called an armature, which helps make a faster, lighter, and less expensive model. Special hot modeling clay is pushed and formed over the armature. Hot because when cooled, the clay becomes firm and hard, perfect for precise modeling. Skillful hands and watchful eyes of the stylists do the rest, ensuring that every long, sweeping curve is true to the evolved design. When the clay was completed, it was covered with a special plastic sheeting called Dynoc, which looks like painted metal, yet can be applied in a fraction of the time it would take to do a similar job in the paint shop. The American racing colors, white and blue, were chosen for the Mustang. With the clay approved, a female plaster mold was formed. When all the forms were joined and the fiberglass and resin laminate had cured, the molds were removed and the accurate fiberglass body form was finished. The body was designed as a semi-unitized construction with the frame, which was now completed. The aluminum tank was installed, as were the one-piece special seats that were designed to be an integral part of the body and frame. The remaining body panels were formed. When finished, Each of the aluminum body panels was carefully fitted to the fiberglass body form to ensure accuracy before they were to be joined and welded to the frame. The completed aluminum body was flown to Dearborn, where the Mustang was finally assembled.
One of the most unusual features was that it had bucket seats that were fixed in position, and so the pedals and the steering wheel were made to adjust to different drivers' dimensions. The Mustang 1 also had four-wheel independent suspension, an uncommon feature in Detroit at the time. It had adjustable shocks and springs, and rack and pinion steering. The power plant was a 60-degree V4, which produced a 90 bhp at 6,500 RPM, utilizing a single-throat Solex carburetor. The Mustang 1 was 154 inches long and had a 90-inch wheelbase. It had a top speed of 115 miles per hour. The car was very low. It was less than 40 inches high, clearing the ground by nearly 5 inches. It went from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 10 seconds, and its fuel economy was as high as 30 miles per gallon. The car was first shown publicly at the United States Grand Prix at Watkins Glen in October 1962, where it was driven by Dan Gurney.
Car and Driver magazine was one of the first of the many publications to recognize the engineering and performance potential of the Mustang, and its technical editor, Jan Norby, was invited to test the car. Roy Lunn went along to answer questions.
I would have liked some kind of support for my accelerator foot. This is the thing we're going to do. We're going to make that. But the response is beautiful.
The other magazines shared Jan's enthusiasm.
The Mustang is a V4 for fun.
The car is a real eye-catcher, and the far-out features are all functional.
The Mustang is a very serious engineering study.
On other road courses, the car further demonstrated its versatility. On the high-speed oval, it proved capable of impressive performance for a car with piston displacement of 1.5 liters, approximately 92 cubic inches.
But despite all the praise heaped on Mustang 1, Iacocca wisely knew that it was not the car that would fill the masses' buying needs. He observed that all of the sports car buffs loved the car so much that the general public, Iacocca's solid customers, would not buy the car. He remarked, "It's so far out." And so the Mustang 1 was passed over, partially because of Iacocca's vision, and also because of the cancellation of another mass appeal car called the Cardinal, for which parts and components were to be interchangeable. With the Cardinal canceled, the Mustang 1 would have been too expensive to build due to its predicted narrow appeal in the marketplace. But as we take a closer look at this beautiful Mustang 1 prototype, it's with great sadness that we bid it farewell. It was truly an impressive automobile, sleek, powerful, and economic.
Yes, the Mustang turned out to be the kind of car that dreams are made of. But a dream it must remain. That was the purpose of the Mustang project, a pioneering, experimental development by Ford engineers and stylists.
Another prototype built for the final version of the Mustang was the Torino. The Torino was later called Mustang II and shown to the public in 1963. This car was the true precursor to the production Mustang. The final Mustang design was toned down from the somewhat radical-looking Torino Mustang II. The Ford designers chose to eliminate the tuck-under in the rear fenders, the minimal bumper-to-sheet metal clear angle, the die-cast headlight, and the degree of roll-under for its front bumper pan. All of these features were against the guidelines prescribed in the Ford Motor Company rulebook used by the Ford designers. The book listed specific do's and don'ts for production engineering. When it was finally agreed upon to go with the Mustang II car, for executives weren't positive about going with the Mustang name, some of the names considered were Allegro, Aventura, Cougar, and Torino. Henry Ford II favored T-Bird II or Thunderbird II. It may have been a subconscious identification with being a second himself. Iacocca, surprisingly, had no strong preference. A man named John Conley from Ford's ad agency went to the Detroit Public Library and researched different types of birds and horses to find a name for the new car. With all the research completed, Conley was sure that Mustang was the best way to go. The Ford executives all agreed, and now the famous Mustang emblem was thrust into immortality. The 1964 Mustang was to be introduced on April 17th at the New York World's Fair opening date. But because of Ford's publicity people and media coverage due to Ford's leaks to the press, all of the major newspapers and magazines had some kind of story on the new Mustang. And so, on the evening of April 16th, Ford bought the 9 p.m. slot on all 3 major networks and unveiled the new car on television. An estimated 29 million viewers watched the unveiling. The next morning, 2,600 major newspapers carried announcement ads and articles. The masses fell in love with this new car. At one dealership, 15 customers wanted to buy the same Mustang, so the car had to be auctioned off. The winning bidder slept in the car to make sure that it wasn't sold out from under him before his check cleared in the morning. For the full 1965 model run, April 1964 through August 1965, a total of 680,989 Mustangs were sold, an all-time industry record for first-year sales. A legend had been created overnight. Ford embarked on an ad campaign extolling the adventurous aspects of the new bold Mustang. The message was clear. Mustang owners were adventurous.
Emily Patterson's worked for me 15 years. Quiet, efficient, sensible. I count on her. But lately she's changed. There's something about her I've never seen before. No mystery about Emily. She's a Mustanger now. This is the car that looks like thousands of dollars worth of sports car, yet it's priced to fit a secretary's salary. When you've got a big 200 cubic inch 6, and you add automatic transmission, clinch it with power steering, you get to know what fun is fast. And now there are 3 Mustangs for $65. Emily's become quite adventuresome lately. I never know what kind of excitement she'll take up next. Put a little lift in your life. Leap into a Mustang 65. Best year yet to go Ford. Mustang.
Every time I went to the beach with Albert, some big muscle guy was always kicking sand in his face. It made me so mad. He tried all the exercises, went through the diets. I wonder whatever happened to him.
Albert's a Mustanger now. He bought a beautiful Mustang convertible, one of 3 Mustangs for $65. Nothing soft about this car, except the all-vinyl interior and the carpeting. With a big 200 cubic inch strong arm 6, he's got a tough new kind of action. And when he added optional power brakes, power steering, all of a sudden his whole life changed. Nobody's kicking sand at Albert now. We don't spend much time here anymore. Put a few kicks in your life. Take a Mustang out for a little road work. Mustang.
The Willow Lane Literary Group meets every Wednesday. We're very active in the town's cultural life. So is our librarian, Winifred. But Winifred hasn't been herself lately. She's changed. Her mind seems to be a million miles away.
Willow Lane hasn't seen Winnie since the '65 Deluxe Mustang. Practically designed it herself with embossed vinyl seats, luxury all around. A new 5-dial instrument cluster, a sports steering wheel. The list goes on. And so does Winnie. Right over to the wild side. put a moment of truth in your life with the deluxe Mustang 65. Best year yet to go Ford Mustang.
Can the unbelievable happen when you meet Mustang? Ask Harvey B. When he looked over a Mustang hardtop at his Ford dealers, he discovered some pretty unexpected features inside. See? Bucket seats, vinyl upholstery, full carpeting, all standard. Then, wham! Harv dreamed of victory at Sebring. Sat tall in the saddle with enough horsepower from his six-shooting engine to carry his dream out to the high country and on to a wild new wave of excitement. Discover the fun only a 65 Mustang can bring. Just about anything can happen. Maybe it will happen to you.
Mustang.
The original standard Mustang engine was a 101 bhp Falcon 6. It was dropped after September 1964. This was considered the accepted break between the 1964.5 and the true 1965 models. This engine was replaced by a more powerful 6, and eventually the small block V8s were installed in the Mustangs. The two-barrel 289 V8 became the base optional V8. In the fall of 1964, the 2+2 was added to the Mustang line. It had a fastback body style and a fold-down rear seat. The Mustang was continually tested on the racetrack to retain its sporty image. The 1965 GT350 Mustang was created by Carroll Shelby, a world-famous car maker who came to world fame by creating a lightning-fast sports car called Cobra. It could cruise at 175 miles per hour and rallied against and beat the formerly unbeatable Ferraris on the racetracks of Europe. Ford wanted a Mustang that could beat a Corvette in sports car racing, and so they turned to Carroll Shelby. Shelby's GT350 race car was entered in its first race and won. The GT350s went on to win SCCA national championships 3 years in a row, from 1965 to 1968. In 1969, Ford produced the Mustang Boss 302. It was created to compete with the Camaro Z28 in the SCCA's Trans Am series. The Boss 302 won the Trans Am championship in 1970. The precursor to the Boss 302 was the Cobra Jet, also offered in 1968. Ford was determined to hone their Mustangs on the racetrack. Mustang GTs have won an excellent reputation on the racetrack. Their performance and handling have been praised by top drivers. This is the Elkhart Lake Road America race, which the Mustang GT won. Mustang has won the grueling 24 Hours of Daytona GTO class for the last 3 years in a row. The Mustang GTO has led the way in development of the present-day Mustangs, and the people's love affair with the car is as hot as ever. Each Mustang is put together with a newfound pride, a pride that until recently had been missing in the American auto worker. But now, because of the stiff competition we are faced with every day from our Asian competitors, we must make our cars a little better than theirs, a little better than our previous automobiles. This year, Ford has spent $200 million on their Mustang factory facility. The Ford Mustang, ex-superstar, is back. Today, there is as much excitement and praise about the Mustang as there was in its glory days of the 60s. Mustang sales this year are estimated to reach their highest levels in a decade. The Mustang, from its very beginning, has been a true cult car. It stirred something in the public that was not only primordial, but irrevocable. It unleashed some kind of suppressed fun demon that lurked in the American car buyer's psyche, and there was no turning back. One of the key reasons that the Mustang has been so successful is its adherence to a very reasonable price tag. From the very beginning, the Mustang gave its customers value, a fun, sporty car at an affordable price. Today, there are many Mustang clubs in the United States, and the Mustang clubs are filled with loyal fans eagerly awaiting the next Mustang. Although at times it looked like their devotion was all for naught, because the Mustang as a cult car almost ceased to exist. But today, it's back. Let's take a close look at the new Mustangs. The new LX two-door is a fun and versatile Mustang. It comes with split-fold rear seat backs for extra storage space. It also comes with a 5.0 LV8 engine option. The new Mustang GT, it's a performance car. Once again, the GT features a taut handling suspension systems, Goodyear radials, two-spoke, five-position tilt steering wheel, modified position pedals to allow heel and toe downshifting, and fully adjustable bucket seats with power lumbar supports. The car that we love to love has given us a lot to be proud of. Mustang, a free-spirited American dream come true.